A second baby has been found alive after being dumped in KwaZulu-Natal. This comes just a few days after another infant was rescued from inside a stormwater drain in Newlands East in the same province. The Provincial Health MEC has urged parents to encourage their children to use contraceptives. Officials have also called on the public to consider adoption instead. Joining me now from our Durban studio is the MEC for Health in KZN, Dr. Simbongiseni Dlomo. Dr. Dlomo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. The statement released by your department goes to great lengths to explain some of the details behind this latest story involving a baby that was abandoned and, call it what you will, thrown away by a 20-year-old mother. Can you briefly tell us what you understand happened in this latest incident?
We have now received, thank you very much for the opportunity. We now have received an information that this 20-year-old who already has another baby had not booked in any of our facilities, so didn't attend, and therefore was seen in the hospital, delivered a baby who was 1.2 kilogram preterm at 8 months. So there was a decision taken that this baby must be allowed to stay in the hospital for weight gain and therefore see the child improving. On day 5, a mother came in to breastfeed at around midnight, as they do come every 3 hours. And then around that time, when all mothers had just gone back to the mothers' lodges at King Edward Hospital, the nurses looked for this baby, never found this baby. They went frantic and went back to collect all the mothers who have been actually been breastfeeding. They checked and found out the mother was just not really worried that her baby was missing, and they were getting worried about that. So they looked everywhere, outside the windows, everywhere, until they opened a waste bin, medical waste, and they found the baby tied up in a pillowcase covered with papers. The baby was almost close to suffocation, and they removed the baby, resuscitated the baby, and the baby is now fine in the hospital.
Now, this is a very traumatic story, and indeed it comes just a few days after another traumatic discovery in a stormwater drain also in your province. And going by the wording of the statement sent out by your office, this is something that's rather traumatizing to a department and indeed the hospitals where incidents like this are taking place.
Absolutely. The nurses were extremely traumatized. I had to go and give support to them because they really thought there was a case against them. Where's the baby? So you are correct. We need to now begin to say these two incidences in the same province in 1 week are, of course, showing a consequence of an unplanned and probably an unwanted pregnancy. So we need to begin to say, what do we do for 20-year-old and younger if we are already finding that they're involved in sexual activities? Isn't it probably time that we have community dialogues, allow them to really have access to family planning programs as young as 15, 16, because we already know now that they are falling pregnant. What should we do? So I've introduced in the province a program called Youth User-Friendly Services, where after 3 o'clock in the clinics, we open up for them to come and have dialogues with the nurses, get advices, so that we can avoid this program of unwanted pregnancies.
Now, the second incident involving a 20-year-old woman, she's not a child going by her age. Is there a belief that the education around young women like this, when it comes to contraceptive and their sexual health, and the impact of having a child when you're not prepared to have one, should start at a much earlier age? And do you think that that education is reaching the communities that need it most?
When I made a comment about the Newlands East mother, I said maybe we have done something, but not enough, not strong enough to reach out to all the communities, teach them about family planning, to say, look, you can delay sexual activity, but if you can't, and you are already active sexually, but you don't want a baby, come to our facilities. We'd advise you how to actually not fall pregnant. But beyond that, if there's been a mistake and you have fallen pregnant, we could still further advise you how to make that baby taken for adoption rather than to what we found in the stormwater drain and also in the waste bin at King Edward Hospital. So we think it's a societal program, but we too in health must lead in educating, giving advices, and have a mounting campaign strongly focusing on, yes, Not this 20-year-old mother has already got another baby, so we should start much earlier. We know that the people who are vulnerable to getting HIV infections and all that is between age 15 to 24, very high risk. So we should be starting these campaigns much earlier.
Now, when we do stories like this, there's always a lot of focus on educating our young women, girls being made aware of the consequences of being sexually active. Now, you and I both know that it takes two to tango when it comes to sexual activity. Do you think that there's enough focus also being put on the education around sexual health for our young boys and young men in our communities?
I agree with you 100%. The pregnancy is a responsibility of this young man as it is for this young girl. So we too must educate young men, because some of the things which we are picking up is that there was no support from the boyfriend, and therefore said, look, don't come back with this baby home. And therefore we need to also educate them that they just can't go around. If it is not right to fall pregnant, it is also not right to make someone pregnant if you are not ready to take responsibility.
And now, going back to this latest discovery or this latest incident, what can you tell us about this case going forward? We believe this 20-year-old woman has now been taken into custody. The repercussion of that now is that the baby that she's already had before is without a mother for now and for the foreseeable future.
Look, ma'am, the law is the law. She has been taken into custody for what she did on this little one. That there was almost a case of, there's an attempted murder. I mean, picking up a baby on a wastebasket, almost about to suffocate, thrown by the mother, is not an easy thing. We understand and appreciate that there is a first baby who probably will be looked after by other parents now, but this incident has made it to be an attempted murder case, and therefore that is the reason why the matter is taken care of by the police. We are just concentrating on the health and the welfare of this little one, who, when this little one gets better, will then be contacting the social worker development, the social development to take over the processes that will probably be going closer to adoption or whatever that they will decide on this baby. All we are doing now is to look after this baby and make him get better.
One last question before I let you go. If you could speak to parents of young people who feel that their kids might be sexually active, but they live in communities where this kind of thing is not spoken of as openly as it should be, what is your message to those parents?
I would put a message to say, parents, we need to really not live in a different world and believe that our children as young as 15, 16 are not involved in any sexual activity. Let us encourage them. They would not be able to open this discussion with us. We probably are scared to open discussion with them. Let them go and seek advice in any facility. But also, those are parents in the clinics. I'm asking those parents in clinics who are nurses, please don't be judgmental on these little ones. They've come in there to seek your advice, your support. Do as much as you can, because next year they will come pregnant if you don't give them family planning advice now.
Very important.
So all of us must open up our eyes and begin to say they do not really ask for our permission to get involved in social activity, but they do. Therefore, let's allow processes to assist them that must kick in.
Very important point to leave our conversation on there. The KwaZulu-Natal Health MEC, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, we thank you so much for your time this morning on such an important issue.